Hey, how are you doing? I am Anthony Giarrusso, and you are watching Anthony Giarrusso Paranormal Channel, which is really easy to remember. Anthony Giarrusso Paranormal Channel. You can also find my book, Wonders of Anthony Giarrusso, which is a memoir of my past encounters, interactions, and experiences with the paranormal over the course of 13 years, right here at www.lulu.com. Wonderful. I come to you today as both an executive motivational speaker and a paranormal lecturer, because this next event, the Blue Guy, which is very easy to find on your internet web browser when you search Anthony Giarrusso, the Blue Guy. Out of every single story that I have, out of every single interaction, encounter, and experience, nothing compares to this story. And before you create a false perception, I want you to ask yourself a few questions first, before, during, and after the story. Why would a young man who is in his 20s come out with a story that sounds so outlandish that unprofessional skeptics will attempt to ridicule? You have to have courage and be bold to add value and build credibility. As a motivational speaker, as an individual who lectures upon the paranormal, I am telling you, my audience, whether if you're a part of the paranormal community or not, I am not going to wait till my deathbed to share my paranormal experiences, interactions, or encounters. I am not going to allow skeptics to censor my free speech. That is my answer. Skeptics will ask, Anthony, why will you risk negative perceptions of you for speaking about your paranormal events? I'm a risk taker, baby, and I have impeccable, refined character. I took a risk to become an above and beyond executive motivational speaker. I took a risk to become a paranormal lecturer. I took a risk putting up all of these videos for the informed consent of my viewers. And my rewards are support from the paranormal community, the free speech community, and the American public. Thank you all. I greatly appreciate it. So the first thing I remember, I was lying down in my bed, and all of a sudden I kind of felt like pressure moving up from my shins, then onto my knees, and onto my lap. I open my eyes, and I see what appeared to be kind of like a silhouette, a black silhouette of almost like a humanoid something. As soon as I recognize it as being humanoid shaped, I abruptly sit up, and as I'm sitting up, I feel the pressure go from my thighs down to my shins. And as soon as I am sitting up, so imagine my legs straight out on the bed, and my torso and up are straight up now, and I become paralyzed. Imagine when a lot of people talk about sleep paralysis, but number one, I didn't have that sensation. I've never had sleep paralysis in my life, but when I sat up, I could not move my body. And I saw something, this strange humanoid entity, standing right on my shins, and I could feel the weight of this thing on my shins. And at the time, all I could think about was, this entity is jamming my muscle movement, the frequency of how my muscles vibrate. And immediately I thought of the Ace Combat video game, where you have aircraft that are able to jam your sensors. For whatever reason, I was able to say "signal jammed" out loud, and somehow this freed me from this feeling of being completely paralyzed. I got a really good look at this thing. It was humanoid. When it was standing on my shins, it towered over my torso and my head. I noticed immediately it had two very circular, sphere-shaped eyes that were black. It had a very short, but very abrupt snout, but you could tell that the snout was definitely there. The feet reminded me of frogs' feet, but the toes weren't flat like frogs' toes. They were more sphere than just flat and round like frogs' toes. So that was something that stood out to me. I noticed its hands were humanoid with opposable thumbs and 4 regular fingers, but there was no fingernails. For whatever reason, at that specific time, I felt like I needed to fight this thing. And I started throwing punches at it. This being was able to dodge every single punch I threw at it. And as I was trying to punch it, when it was dodging my attacks, I was noticing the flex in its own muscle movements and stretches and contractions happening around the skin when it flexed its muscles. I started to really notice its belly. It was more pill-shaped. And it was kind of like a lighter color that went from like its groin area up around to its chest. I noticed that this entity, this cryptid, had a very unique skin pattern. It had what appeared to be elongated octagons. Imagine kind of like the shape of a stop sign, because that's an octagon. But on the vertical side, so that's the up and down side, it would be longer, elongated. Okay? And they were placed kind of almost like if you look at bricks on a house, where it's like this and this and this and this. It's kind of like that. But I noticed in between those octagons, on the dark blue side, with the dark blue coloration, or the more royal blue coloration, it had like this membrane that was like the same color as this pill-shaped belly. But on the pill-shaped belly, it still had those octagons, those elongated octagons, but the membrane was a similar color to the dark blue or royal blue that I saw on the regular skin tone of the being. It was pretty much like an inverted coloration, specifically on the belly area. I don't remember exactly how many punches I threw, but after I threw a couple of punches, this entity jumped off from my shins in front of my bed onto the hardwood floor, causing a thud sound. And at that specific time, right after it hit the hardwood floor, immediately, the items on my shelves on my bureau started to shake. That's how I knew that there was something really there. And when I felt the weight be lifted off my shins before this entity hit the hardwood floor, I knew that this thing was real. It ran to my door. It runs past the light from my alarm clock. I noticed that the alarm clock says 1 a.m. And I noticed this entity has a raptor-like tail. And I noticed these black splotches on its back. This entity reaches up and grabs a door handle with its right hand, and it tries to open the door. The first time it tries this, it ratchets the door handle by bringing it all the way down, and then it ratcheted back to its normal height. And then the entity did it a second time and couldn't open the door. At this specific time, I'm getting ready to jump right off my bed and go chasing after this thing. Then the third time, it grabs the door handle and swings it wide open. The door handle hits the wall. I jump off my bed in pursuit of this thing. And as this thing was running away from me, trying to get outside of my bedroom by opening the door, at that moment, I felt something that I've never felt before. I felt that creature's fear of me. I felt, for a brief instant, so much power. I'd never felt like that before in my life. Over everything. I had an extreme amount of confidence boldness, willingness to take risks like I've never felt before. And at that moment, that's what changed my life, to not fear the paranormal. I'm in my bedroom, starting to run towards the doorway. The creature's already in the hallway, and it takes a left into the foyer of the home. And I'm running towards it. I lose visual. Once I come around the corner, I notice that the light is on in the living room. My mom's crocheting. The couch is facing the opposite direction of where I and this creature were running in the foyer. Once I turn that corner, I see a tail that looked exactly like the same tail of this other creature that I had just seen. It still had the black splotches on it, but it looked more olive green rather than blue. I'm continuing pursuit of this thing. I lose visual of it again as it goes into the dining room and then into the kitchen. By the time I get into the kitchen, I lose sight of it. I notice that my parents' bedroom door is wide open, but my parents like to sleep the door open. They've always done that when I was a child. I don't know why. But my mother was still crocheting on the couch. And my mother calls out to me, "Anthony, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I am chasing a creature." And then she doesn't say anything, no reply from her. I couldn't find anything. I don't know what happened to the entity. But at that time, I thought there were two possibilities. And now I've got kind of a third possibility. It's more like a 2.5 possibility. But I'll explain in a moment. The first thing that went through my mind is maybe whatever this creature was had some advanced optical camouflage, whether if it was technology or natural, and was able to disappear from my view and turn itself completely invisible. And I was thinking that this must have been the case because an entity like that could come into my bedroom, close the door when I'm not looking, or even sleeping, or it could have been in my bedroom for hours already, just in its ability to camouflage it optically. The other thing that went through my mind at the time is that it got into my bedroom and left the kitchen by teleporting itself. It wasn't until years later where I thought a teleportation option might be it. And this is why it's a third option, but kind of a 2.5 because it branches off of the teleportation theory. I've been wondering for a long time, and I cannot confirm this at this time, could it be possible to extract an entity from wherever it's from using consciousness? Is there a possibility that somehow I was able to extract this entity from wherever the heck it came from to make it appear in front of me? Or possibly did that other entity focus on my consciousness to appear specifically to me and nobody else? Either way, that would be a consciousness teleportation, not just regular teleportation. So that's why I consider that to be like a 3 or a 2.5 idea, because it's more of a branch off of the teleportation possibility. Now, I have no idea how the heck this thing got there. I have no idea where the heck this thing was going. All I know is for a specific period of time in my life, when I woke up at that specific time on that specific night, that entity appeared. And I had an unusual interaction. Now, up there in New Hampshire where I had that interaction with this entity, I was much younger than I am today. And I didn't write the date down on when it happened, and I wish I did. Especially now that I know that there are people who may have an ability to remote view and confirm my story. Now, for people who are unaware, I'd like to enlighten you about remote viewing real quickly. Allegedly, remote viewing means that you can go back in time, forward in time, or even view places around the world without being physically present. And if remote viewing is real, they would be able to confirm this cryptid setting that I have to prove to you I'm not making this up. But continue, right? Wow, what a bizarre story Anthony had with this blue guy. But remember those questions from earlier that I had you ask yourselves. Remember those questions. My advice for you today, re-watch this video and really absorb the information that I'm giving you. This was Anthony Giarrusso, the blue guy, an amphibian cryptid. You are watching Anthony Giarrusso Paranormal Channel. Don't forget to go to www.lulu.com, rewatch this video, share the links to this video, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about this video. Get the word out, because knowledge is power, and when you spread information, you are taking action. Have a great day. Bye.